Hi guys, welcome to another tutorial on pandas. So this time we will be seeing how to deal with missing values. So in the previous lecture we saw that we were dropping, right? So we used drop NA to drop all the rows having at least one value, or we use drop NA with axis equal to 1 to drop those columns that are having at least one null value. Now dropping is usually not always the best method because you lose a lot of data also, right? So for example, if you have a data set having, let's say, 1 million rows and you have 10 columns, so the total information content will be 1 million into 10. That is 10 million cells of information. So for example, if there are 10 rows and you have only one null value in that each of the row, deleting 10 rows basically amounts to losing of almost 100 data points, which may be really valuable. Fine. So there is a method called imputation. It's a basically technique and feature engineering to keep valuable data that have null values. Let us directly look at the example. So I am picking the column revenue underscore million. This is how you directly pick a column. So let us see this column in Excel also. So we have revenue underscore million. In the previous lectures, we have seen how we can rename the column. So you can see in the revenue columns, we have few null fields, right? These are null values, null values, null values. Okay. So I'm doing revenue dot head. So you can see Guardians, Prometheus, Split, and Sling. You can see head basically displays the first 5 rows by default. Guardians of the Day, Prometheus, Split, Sling, Suicide, Scott. These are appearing. Fine. Now what I'm doing for this revenue column, okay, I'm storing this revenue. Basically, I'm taking the entire column and storing in the variable called revenue. And for this revenue column, I'm taking the mean. So I'm doing nothing but I'm taking the mean of this particular column, right? I'm taking the mean of this column, which gives me as 82.95 million USDs. Now see what I'm doing. For dropping, I was using the function drop NA. Now for filling, right now I'm what by imputation means we are treating the null values. I am saying fill NA. That means all the null values you need to fill. So what I'm doing, revenue, right? So my revenue variable had the column revenue underscore millions. Here I am saying that, okay, in this column, whenever you get a not applicable value, replace that value by the mean value, which we got at 82.95. And once you replace that, make sure the in place is true. That means make the changes permanent into the data frame and not temporary. Right? Once again, what does fill NA do is like whenever you encounter a null value, replace it by some value. In this case, we are replacing by the column mean and doing in place equal to true, which means I am doing in place replacement. And revenue, my variable basically had this column. I could have used a shorthand also, but it's always better, right? First, plug the column that you want to fix. So I'm saying, okay, this data frame, retrieve this column. So this column is saved here. And in this column, all those which are NA or null or blank, replace them by the mean of that column and have an in place equal to true, right? So once I have done in place equal to true, so now when I'm doing the null check, so now you can see revenue underscore million has 0 nulls. If we go back, you can see revenue underscore million had 128 null values. Now all these null values have been replaced by the mean, which is nothing but 82.95. That's it, right? So you can see secret in their eyes, which was originally in null 82.95, right? Again, see 82.95. Let us go back to the file just for a checkup. You can see the null, the two values, right? This one, secret in their eyes and search party, both have these columns, had these cells as null. Now with the imputation, what I did, I basically replaced the mean, right? The mean was 82.95 and now you can see here, sorry, just a minute. Yeah, now you can see here, secret in their eyes is 82.95 and search party 82.95. So here we are not saying whether this is the best method or not. This is one of the methods, right? Replacing by the mean value of the original column. Okay. Again, so now you can see similarly for metascore, you can just replace this by metascore and process with the same steps, right? So there are various other methods also, replacing by mean, median. You can even define your own methods to replace the mean. Like you can take the average of the previous and the next values to replace the mean. Fine. So this is how you deal with null values, by replacing them using mean and other methods. So thank you for watching. Have a good day.